Okay, now. Then, so, like we started loops in last class, like how to use the loop. Okay, you use the loop like this. Suppose, for example, declare what at the rate x integer, at the rate x integer equals to 1. You declared the variable also initialize it. You declared an initializer. Next one, while. So this supports only one loop, that is while loop. No for loop, no do while, only one. And suppose at the rate x, I want to print up to 20. I want to print numbers from 1 to 20. X less than or equals to what? 20. Begin. This is the syntax. You have to follow the syntax. Begin. While condition begin statements end. If condition true, execute the statements. Again check the condition. Again execute the statements. Again check the condition. Again execute the statement. This goes up to till the condition is false. Once condition false, loop is terminated. Condition true, loop continues. Condition false, loop terminates. Then so print every time I want to print x. So print x. Print what's that? X. Print at the rate x. Next, I want to increment. First time it prints how much? 1. Next time I want to print to 2. To print to 2, x must be incremented by 1. Set x equals to x plus 1. Next one, and so print x, x is incremented by 1, x becomes 2. Then execute 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 20. Yes. X value is incremented by 1. X value becomes 20. That's it. Sir, okay? Then. So this is just how to use loop. I just written 1 or 2 programs. How to print the calendar. How to print calendar. Okay, na? Okay, we'll see. Like suppose then I want to print 2026 calendar. 2026 calendar means I want to print date 2026 0101 day. Sunday na Monday na. Next one 2026 January 2nd. What is the day? And like this continue up to 31st December. Start from January 1st, continue up to 31st December. You want to print a date, then. So what I'm doing is I'm taking 2 date variables at the rate D1, D2. Set D1 equals to what? D1. Set D1 equals to D1 equals to start date. Assign the start date. What is the start date? 2026-0101. Set D2 equals to end date. Assign the end date. What is the end date? 2026-12-31st. Start date is assigned to D1. End date is assigned to D2. Take a loop, while loop. While then D1 less than or equals to D2 begin. Then D1 less than or equals to D2. Then begin what? Every time, what do you want? You want to print date. Print date. Where is the date? D1. At the rate D1. Next space. After printing the date, space day. Day. Day means Sunday na, Monday na, Tuesday na, like this. Then what? Plus space day. How to get the day? Date name. Date name DW at the rate D1. So printing the day of the week. Printing day of the week. Next one. Date and day of the week. Next. So first one is completed. January 1st is completed. Next, I want January 2nd. Then set at the rate D1 equals to at the rate D1 plus 1. Okay, na? January 1st plus 1. January 2nd. Yes. Run this error. So there is an error at line 6. There is an error at line 7. This is line 6. This is line 7. These two errors. Why this is error? Uh, uh. When you are concatenating, what the rule is, all must be character type. But what is D1 is date type. That's why it is giving error. Then convert this to character. Now cast at the rate D1 as what? Varchar. At the rate D1 as varchar. Understood? Now this D1 is converted to character type. Yes. Now let's run this. So this is okay. Line 6 is okay. Now line 7, there is error. We cannot add one day like this. You can't add one day like this. How to add one day? Date add. There is a function date add dd comma 1 at the rate d1. dd1 at the rate d1. So one day is added. Then that's now it is working. So what is the January 1st? January 1st is Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, like this. So it is going up to 31st December. That's it. So printing each and every day. Sir, okay, na? That's remaining you try. Like what? Just sit and print Sundays. Print Sundays. Then next one. Next. What the next topic is? Next topic is cursors. Okay, na? What the next topic is cursor. Then let's see. So then what is cursor and what for cursor is? Okay, then see up to now, like suppose here, then 1 second. For example, sir, in my program, see, this is the query. This query returns what, sir? Salary 7844. This query returns 7844 salary. So here numbers are changed now. Numbers table is not there now. Select star from EMP. You see the table. Then 110. 110 is there now. Where employee number is 110. Yes. So here once again, what I want is I want e-name. I want e-name from EMP where employee number is 110. What is this query will select? Sorry, salary. What is this query will select? 110 salary. 110 salary. What is the 110 salary? 1100. Sir, suppose 107. This will show 107 salary. What is the 107 salary? 4,000. Then I want this salary in my program. Then tell me what you do. I want this salary in my program. Then select what? Take a variable. Take a variable. Select the salary, copy the salary to the variable. I want name and salary. Then two variables. One variable for name, one variable for salary. I want name, salary, job. Then three variables. I want complete row. I want complete row. 8 variables. I want all the rows. Not one row. I want all the rows. 14 rows. Take cursor. Take cursor. Sir, you want single value. Then one second. Sir, you want only the name. Then what? So take one variable for name. You want name and salary. Take two variables. You want name, salary, then suppose commission. Take three variables. Yes. But you want all 14 employees, not just one employee. You want all the 14 employees data. Then what do you want? You want all 14 employees data. Then take cursor. In programming languages, you use arrays. You use arrays for storing the multiple elements. Here we use cursor for storing the multiple rows. You see, in all our programs, in all the programs, how many rows you accessed into the program? You see, in our examples, in all the examples, how many rows you accessed? One row. How many rows you accessed? One row. Employee number 107. You entered the employee number. So this particular employee salary updated. You entered the employee number. You entered the employee number. So that particular employee experience is calculated. Then how many rows you selected from the table? Only one row. If you want one row, cursor is not required. You want multiple rows, cursor is required. That's all. Cursor is for storing multiple rows. Then next, what is cursor? Okay, then. So cursors are what? Then cursors are used to process what? Multiple records in tsql program. Using cursor, we can access what? Row by row. We can access row by row in tsql program. We can access row by row in tsql program. Use it to access row by row in tsql program. Okay, then. Now, once again, what the concept is? Actually, the concept is that, sir, here, this is the server. Okay, inside this server, then there is a WhatsApp SQL server is installed. Inside the server, you created WhatsApp database. You created the database. Then, and inside the server, one more is there. What that is called instance. Okay. Then one more is there. What that is called instance. See, this is your program. This is your program. Your program is connected to SQL server. Through SSMS, your program is connected to SQL server. So then you're writing the program. Then, so in this program, you want all 14 employees data, not one employee's data. You want all 14 employees data. Then you submit a query. What is the query? Select star from EMP. You submit this query. When you submit this query to SQL server from your program, you submit this query to SQL server. So where is the table? Table is there in WhatsApp database. EMP table is there in the database. SQL server go to the database. SQL server go to database. It goes to the database. When you submit the query, it goes to database. Copy this EMP table into temporary memory. The CMP table is copied to WhatsApp. The CMP table is copied to this instance. Okay, na? That EMP table is copied to the instance. How many rows copied to the instance? 14 rows. All 14 rows are copied to the instance. All 14 rows are copied to the instance. Okay. In instance, what is this place is called? Instance contains different parts. What is this place is called? This place is called cursor. What this place is called? Cursor. So the data is copied to instance. In instance, one place, what that place is called? Cursor. This is called cursor. Okay, then. So what I want is, I want this data. I want this data in program. Where is the data now? Data is there in server. I want this data in what, sir? Program. Okay, na? Then. So if you want to access this data in program, you have to give some name to this memory. You have to give some name to this cursor. Okay, then 1 second. Suppose, see, in programming languages, what you do, you declare a variable integer a equals to 100. When you declare the variable, what happens is some memory is allocated. In that memory, value 100 is stored. You given name to the memory. What the name given to the memory is a. You given the name to the memory. The name given to the memory is what? A. Then now, next. But in program, you want to access this value 100. If you want to access this value 100, use the name A. Yes or no? In programming languages, so in memory, you store the values, but to access that value, we use variable names. So similarly, some data stored here. You want to access this data in program. To access this data in program, give some name. I'm giving a name. What is the name given? C1. So C1. I give a name to the C1. C1 is pointing to this cursor. I give an in program. I give a name to this cursor. The name is C1. And using this name C1, we can access one by one row from cursor. We can access one by one row from cursor to the program. We can access one by one row from cursor to the program and process the row. Understood? Then. So what is the first step? This is the first step. You send the query to SQL Server. SQL Server, SQL Server, copy the data from database table to this instance, temporary memory. This is the second step. So the data is copied to one location. What that location is called? Cursor. And give some name to the cursor. This is the third step. Now, once the name is given, you can access one by one row from cursor to the program, process the row. So suppose they will ask, what they will ask, they don't ask what is cursor. They'll ask in tsql program how to access row by row. In tsql program, how to access row by row. Then what do you have to say? Using cursor. Whenever in programs to access row by row from the table, use cursor. Next, see what the concept is. From tsql program, if we submit a query, to SQL Server, it goes to database and get the data, and it goes to database and get the data and copies that data into what's it? Temporary memory. Copy the data into temporary memory called cursor. Copy the data into temporary memory called cursor. Okay, na? Then, and in tsql program, we can give name to that memory and access what? Row by row from that memory. Access row by row and process the row. That's it. This is the concept. So from tsql program, if you submit a query to SQL Server, it goes to database and get the data, copy the data into temporary memory called cursor. And in tsql program, we can give name to that cursor, instead of memory, name to that cursor and access row by row from cursor and process the row. That's it. Give name to the cursor, access row by row from cursor, process the row. This is the concept. Understood now? That's Okay. Next. How to use cursor? That, like follow below steps. Follow below steps to use cursor. One, declare cursor. Second one, open cursor. Third one, fetch records from cursor. Fourth one, close cursor. Fifth one, deallocate cursor. Declare cursor, open cursor, fetch records, close, deallocate. So these are the steps you have to follow if you want to use cursor. So declare, open, fetch, close, deallocate. Working with files from programming languages, working with files. To work with the files, open the file, read and write the data. Once reading, writing is completed, close the file. Same, like, okay, na? Then. So first, declare. Declaring cursor. First, declare. You want to use variable. To use variable, first declare the variable. Similarly, to use cursor, declare the cursor. What is the difference? Variable stores one value, cursor stores multiple rows. How to declare the cursor? Declare cursor name. Cursor name. Okay. Then declare C1 cursor. Cursor, declare cursor for select statement. This is the syntax. Example. Declare cursor name, cursor for select statement. Example. Declare what? C1 cursor for select ename salary from EMP. So you declare the cursor with select query. Declare the cursor with select query. What select query? Depends on what data you want in the program. Depends on what data. Whatever the data you want in the program, according to that you declare. Okay, na? Then next one. Declare the cursor. Next. Cursor is declared. When cursor is declared, what happens? Some memory is allocated. So when declared cursor is declared, some memory is allocated in instance. Only memory is allocated, but it's not filled with data. It allocate the memory. Okay. Then second step. What is the second step? Open. Open cursor. When cursor is open, then what? Open cursor name. Open cursor name. Example, open C1. Cursor is open. Open C1. Cursor is open. When cursor is open, what happens? When cursor is open, what happens? When cursor is open, what happens is the select query. This select query is sent to SQL server. From your program, this query is sent to SQL server. And SQL server execute the query. Data written by query is copied to the cursor. C1 points to the cursor. The query is submitted to SQL server. SQL server execute the query. Data written by query copied to the cursor. C1 points to the cursor. This is what happens when you open. That means when cursor is filled with data, when cursor filled with data, when you open it, not at the time of declaration, after open. Okay, there. Now let's see. Okay, so what is the first step when cursor is open? First, the select statement. The select statement declared with cursor sent to SQL server. Second step, SQL server execute the query. Third step, data written by query is copied to what? Data written by query is copied to cursor. Cursor, fourth one. Okay. Then C1 points to the cursor. C1 points to cursor. Select statement declared with cursor sent to SQL server. SQL server execute the query. Data written by query is copied to the cursor. C1 points to the cursor. Okay, now? Yeah. Now cursor fill with data. Next, what is the next step? Where is the data? Data is there in cursor. Where is the cursor? Instance. Where is the instance? Server. But you want this data in program. Access one by one row from cursor to the program. To access one by one row, that is called fetch. What is the next step? Fetching records from cursor. What this is? Fetching. Fetching records from cursor. Then. So, how you fetch? Fetch statement. Then fetch statement is used to fetch record from cursor. The fetch statement is used to fetch record from cursor. Okay. Then. So, how to use fetch statement? Fetch next from cursor name. Fetch next from cursor name into variables. Then example. Then fetch next from cursor name into variables. Fetch next from C1. Fetch next from C1 into. So, like once again. So the data is there in cursor. Like let's say this is cursor C1. The C1 contains 14 rows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 14 rows. The cursor contains 14 rows. Okay. And this cursor contains two more rows. One is BFR before the first row, another one ALR after the last. The cursor contains two more rows before the first row, after the last. Okay. Where is the C1? When cursor is open, when you open the cursor, where is the cursor? The cursor is at before the first row. The C1 will be there at before the first row. Okay, na? The C1 will be there at before the first row. When fetch statement is executed, the cursor is moved to next row. When fetch is executed, the cursor is moved to first row, next row. What is the next row? First row. Yes or no? When fetch is executed, the cursor is moved to first row. The first row is fetched. This first row is fetched from cursor. The first row is fetched from cursor to the program. But copy this then this row contains how many values? This is a row bus. The row is there in the cursor. This row contains how many values? This row contains how many values means this one. This query output is copied to the cursor. How many rows? 14 rows. Each row contains how many values? Two values, name and salary. Copy the name to one variable, salary to one variable. Copy the name to one variable at the rate what's the name. Copy the salary to one variable. Okay. Then, so here, fetch next from C1 into at the rate what's the name at the rate salary. The first row is fetched. The row contains two values. That values are copied to these two variables. Next one. But fetch statement fetches how many rows at a time? Only one row. It fetches only one row. But our cursor contains how many rows? 14 rows. Then again what? Again execute the fetch statement. Again execute. When you execute the fetch statement again, then it move to the cursor to the next row. The second row is fetched. The values are copied to the variables. Again execute the fetch statement. So the cursor is moved to third row and fetch the third row. Copy the values to the variables like this. Continue this up to how many times? 14 times. Okay. Then. So then fetch statement should be executed multiple times. How to execute the fetch statement multiple times? loop. Then, so what is a fetch statement? Fetches one row at a time. Okay, then. But to process multiple rows, fetch statement should be executed multiple times. Should be executed multiple times. Okay, then. So to execute fetch statement should be in a loop. Should be in a loop. That's fetches one row at a time, but to process multiple rows, fetch statement should be executed multiple times. So to execute fetch statement, it should be in a loop. Then once completed, then what's that? Close. Close cursor. Close cursor. Close cursor. Close cursor. C1. Next one. Deallocate cursor. Sorry, here. Closing cursor means what happens is this is removed. This reference is removed. This is removed. A reference is created from your program to cursor. That reference is removed. Deallocate. Deallocate means this memory is released. Whatever the memory is allocated for the cursor, that memory is what? Released. So these two steps. Once completed, because your task is completed, you don't need the cursor. Close the cursor. Next, deallocate the cursor. How to deallocate?